Hi guys. So some of you know, or maybe you don't know, in July, the end of July, our house caught fire. But thankfully, we're okay. Right now we're in a temporary home. And hopefully they'll be working on fixing our house up soon. That whole process takes a while. Um, let's see. Uh, it's been a lot, but we still have a lot to be thankful for, and um, that all the stuff that came after that has kept me busy. But hopefully, I'll get started again with uh, making these videos again, and I guess I just wanted to share some things that will hopefully be an encouragement to whoever may come across this. Um, let's see. My dad and I guess, I'll start with that. We, and it's not a coincidence again. I don't know how, but God always manages to work things out like this. And so that first Sunday after the fire, because the fire happened on a Thursday, a lot was going on, so we didn't actually have a chance to go to church. But my dad and I saw it online, and the pastor started with, "This isn't in your notes because it came to me during the week, but I'm going to start with Job." And obviously, he didn't know about the fire, and there's other stuff going on that I'm sure we weren't the only ones that needed to hear what he started the sermon with that day. But it encouraged us because that's who God is. He works things out like that, and the sermon was completely, or you would think, is completely unrelated, and yet he found a way to connect the two, because the sermon was about the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000, which again would not make you or me or anyone really think of Job, but it worked. And I guess I will start with Job. That if you haven't heard that story, it's definitely a good one to read. Job was a man who loved God and he had everything, but then Satan came and was like, "Well, if you touch the hedge of protection that you have around him, surely he will curse you." And so God allowed him to test him, and so he lost everything. He lost his house, his children, his health, different things. And each time, I mean, when you lose things, it's hard, but let me open up to Job. Job chapter 1, verse 21. Actually, I'll start with verse 20. It says, "Job stood up, tore his robe, and shaved his head. He fell to the ground and worshipped, saying, 'Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will leave this life. The Lord gives, and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.'" And so that was part of the message that my dad and I needed to hear that day. And see. Also, our church sends a devotional, and the one that was sent and that I read right after um, the fire was one that I've kept going back to this whole time, which when I read it, it's one of those ones that maybe, I don't know about you, but maybe you read it and you don't think too much about it and you move on to another passage. But because the Bible is God's living word, He's always showing us different things and pointing out things that maybe you never noticed, which is what happened with this story. I'll read it first. This one is in Matthew chapter 14, starting at verse 22. Immediately, he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. After dismissing the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Well into the night he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat was already some distance from land, battered by the waves, because the wind was against them. Jesus came toward them, walking on the sea, very early in the morning. When the disciples saw him walking out on the sea, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. Immediately Jesus spoke to them. "Have courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter answered him, "command me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." And climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on the water, and he came toward Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, "You have little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those in the boat worshipped him and said, "Truly, you are the Son of God." So, in that story, I never noticed what was pointed out to me when I read that devotional, that Peter, he panicked when he saw the wind, when he saw, the storm, the waves. He took his eyes off of Jesus. And you might think, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have to go through a storm or a trial or something. But if you notice in the story, the wind didn't stop. It says, Jesus reached out his hand and caught hold of him. And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. So when they were on the water, the waves were still going. The wind was still there, the storm didn't stop. And yet, Jesus saved Peter. And he said, "Why did you doubt?" So it's showing how we tend to fear and doubt, but Jesus walks with us. And even though the trial or the storm doesn't stop, he's still there with us. And that's how it's been pretty much. Each time I panic, fear, get scared, worried, God, he's like, he's there. And it's something that I guess I'm still growing in. And I have to remind myself of that. So even like when I wear a shirt like this, it's not like, oh, well, let me read it. It says, Be strong and courageous, and for I am with you. Joshua 1:9. I. It's not like I'm saying, oh, I'm that and you should be that. No, it's like I wear this to remind even myself of that because I'm not strong, I'm not courageous. I worry about different things, and it's like Jesus saying, why did you doubt? I'm right here. And um, God's amazing that way. If not, I'd be more nervous and scared and worried than I am when I know that He's with me. If Peter hadn't been scared, he could have kept walking on the water, um, as he did when he got off the boat and walked in faith. And so even though Peter failed, even though I fail, God still shows how much He loves us and walks with us. There's another scripture that I wanted to share that, let's see, in 1 Peter chapter 4, starting at verse 12, it says, Dear friends, don't be surprised when the fiery trial comes among you to test you, as if something unusual were happening to you. Instead, rejoice as you share in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may also rejoice with great joy when His glory is revealed. If you are ridiculed for the name of Christ, you are blessed because the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. Let none of you suffer as a murderer, a thief, an evildoer, or a meddler. But if anyone suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God in having that name. For the time has come for judgment to begin with God's household. And if it begins with us, what will the outcome be for those who disobey the gospel of God? And if a righteous person is saved with difficulty, what will become of the ungodly and the sinner? So then let those who suffer according to God's will entrust themselves to a faithful Creator while doing what is good. So even though sometimes I like there to be, how do I say it? Like, maybe like in the fairy tales when it's like they end with happily ever after, and it's like the end, something positive. Well, sometimes life isn't like that, and we don't know a lot of things. We don't know the outcome yet. We're not at the end of the story yet. And so it's not like, oh, there's just one trial and then the end, happily ever after. No, it's life keeps going. There's going to be more trials to come, and we either face them with God or without God. And I don't know about you, if you believe or not, but I can't imagine facing anything without God, because without Him, the world's already a scary, well, not everything in it, but there's a lot to be scared of. And yet, if you have God, then we have someone that knows the outcome, even if we don't know it. And whatever that may be, whether in this life or the next, we can trust him. He's good. And I guess that's all I wanted to really share for now. And um, we'll see about the rest. I don't really know yet if I'll just work on uploading old videos I had already pre-recorded, or make new ones, or what the schedule will be like, or anything. Um, we'll see what God leads me to do, and hopefully I'll be posting again soon. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for watching.